A blizzard erased the world down to white and silence. In the middle of it, a mother dog stood chained to ground so frozen it rang like iron. She curved her body around two tiny puppies, shielding them with ribs and breath. She made no sound. No bimper. No bark. Her eyes stayed fixed on the storm, steady, as if waiting for something she already knew would never arrive. The cold kept deepening. The road vanished under snow. Wind erased tracks as fast as they were made. The night was winning until a single truck slowed and stopped. The man who stepped out was trained for battle, not mercy. A Navy SEAL by trade, a survivor by habit. But the quiet stopped him harder than any explosion ever had. What followed would expose cruelty hidden in daylight and force a town long practiced in looking away to finally see. Because sometimes the most powerful prayers are never spoken aloud. They are lived through. Morning came disguised as forgiveness. The sky cleared to a washed winter blue, sunlight laying flat and cold across Brightwater. Snowbanks glittered like mirrors. Rooftops breathed out thin steam. Pines along the ridge stood bowed but unbroken, dignified in their endurance. It was the kind of morning that convinced people the worst was over. Rowan Cade knew better. Winter never ended anything cleanly. Paused. He drove his aging pickup along the service road near the abandoned spillway, tires grinding over packed snow. His posture was straight, habitual, shoulders broad beneath a fitted camouflage long sleeve. At 40, his strength was quiet, earned, maintained, unadvertised. Dark hair cut close, a hard, angular face softened only by patience learned the long way. Blue eyes that observed before they acted. He told himself these drives were practical, checking culverts, fallen limbs, old bridge planks weakened by ice. That was partly true. The rest was simpler. Motion kept the noise down. The past stayed quieter when the engine hummed and the cold pressed clean against the glass. His knee ached faintly, the familiar reminder of an old injury that woke whenever temperatures dropped. He ignored it. Then he saw something wrong. At the edge of the lot, near a chain-link fence, a shape clung to the snow like a stain. It didn't move. Rowan slowed. No scramble. No panique. Just stillness. As he drew closer, the shadow resolved into a dog. A German shepherd, large-boned, starved thin. Her black and tan coat was stiff with ice. A chain ran from her collar to a crooked metal post frozen into the ground. Beneath her chest, pressed into what little warmth she had left, were two puppies. So small they barely seemed real. They were alive. Barely. Rowan shut off the engine. The ticking of cooling metal filled the air. The dog didn't bark. She lifted her head and met his gaze. There was no plea in her eyes. No accusation. Only resolve. The look of a creature that had already committed to endure whatever came next. Rowan stepped into the cold. Up close, the damage spoke softly but clearly. Ribs traced in frost. Eyelashes rimmed white. A metal bowl overturned. Water inside split into jagged ice. The chain rattled faintly in the wind. The puppies stirred. One larger, stubbornly pressed into warmth. The other smaller, chest fluttering, eyes open, watching Rowan's hands with unsettling focus. When the fence rattled, neither puppy startled. The mother's ears flicked once, then settled. Rowan crouched. Easy, he said, more habit than expectation. She didn't bare her teeth. Didn't relax either. She watched. A raw line circled her neck where the collar had bitten too long. The chain was frozen solid. Rowan wrapped his hands around it and pulled. Ice cracked sharp and loud. The sound echoed across the empty lot. The dog did not flinch. She trembled harder, eyes never leaving his face. Rowan worked link by link, fingers burning, until the metal tore free with a snap that sent pain up his arms. He lifted the puppies first, sliding them into the warmth of his jacket. The larger one made a thin, determined sound and burrowed deeper. The smaller one, silent, kept watching his hands, amber eyes steady. Something shifted behind Rowan's ribs. When the chain fell away, the mother stood on shaking legs and stepped toward him without hesitation. She pressed her head briefly against his thigh, not submission but acknowledgement, then turned as if to go. Rowan followed her to the truck. As he coiled the chain, something snagged his glove. Plastic. A black industrial zip tie, snapped clean, stiff with cold. Rowan froze. Strays didn't wear zip ties. This wasn't neglect. It was disposal. He wrapped the dogs in an old blanket, cranked the heater, and drove. The mother curved herself around the puppies, forming shelter with Bone and Will. When the door shut, she exhaled. Rowan watched her breath fog the air and wondered what kind of nights taught a creature to trust silence more than sound. Dr. Emery Quinn's clinic was open as always. Emery was 42, sharp-eyed, hair pulled back tight, humor dry as winter leaves. She assessed with steady hands hypothermia, malnutrition, the raw collar wound. She dropped a tray behind the table. The clang echoed. The smaller puppy didn't react. Emery glanced at Rowan. "Interesting," she said softly. "We'll talk." They warmed them, hydrated them, went slow. Rowan stayed where the puppy could see his hands. Outside, the town glowed gentle and false. Rowan returned to the lot later. Beneath his own tracks were older ones, city shoes, square heels. Someone had come back. Checked. He left knowing the storm had only revealed what was already there. Rowan's cabin sat where forest loosened into creekland, wood and stone low and weathered. Smoke rose steady from the chimney. Inside smelled of wood and melting snow. The mother dog, Sable, he would later think, paused just inside, scanning exits. The puppies were set near the stove. Rowan moved quietly, efficiently. Old habits translated into care. When he spoke low, the smaller puppy didn't turn toward sound. He turned toward movement. Emery arrived within the hour. She tested again. Dropped the tray. No reaction. "He's deaf," she said evenly. "Born that way. Different, not broken." They began with hands instead of words. Open palm. Slow close. Stillness. The puppy followed. Agreement, not command. Sable watched. Trusted. That afternoon, Sable led Rowan into town. Not to the main street. To a quiet brick building. Brightwater Hearing and Speech Center. She sat. Waited. Inside, a woman named Lena listened with more than ears. She watched Micah track hands like captions. "This place teaches another language," she said. Sable was calm here. She remembered safety. What followed unfolded slowly. Patterns. Evidence. Documentation. The zip tie. The tracks. Missing dogs. Guard contracts. A developer named Silas Crown. Warnings arrived quietly. A slashed tire. A note. Rowan burned it. Silence, he learned, was a choice. The town froze again. Power failed. The center lost heat. Rowan crossed a singing bridge in the dark with a generator and a dog who knew where boards held. They brought warmth back. On the return, he found contracts in a stranded car. Photographed them. Left them. At home, someone had searched the cabin. Not for proof. For leverage. The puppies were hidden. Safe. Sable had planned that. Morning came clean and cold. Rowan turned evidence in. The county opened an investigation. The town gathered. Truth traveled faster than rumor once it had weight. Funding was raised. The center saved. Silas Crown's name lost power. Micah became official. A therapy dog who listened with his eyes. Children learned confidence where fear had lived. Sable stayed. So did Rowan. Some miracles arrive quietly. Not thunder. Not fire. But a hand held open. A door not ignored. A dog who refuses to give up on you. In Brightwater, winter didn't end because it softened. It ended because enough people chose to look. And when they did, the cold lost its grip. If the story reminded you that light still travels between people, share where you're watching from. Tell us what carried you through your hardest season. Sometimes hope is not loud. Sometimes it's just warm enough to survive. And that is enough.